Welcome to Nava Podcast with Leah Cardenas and Stella Pashos.
Let's explore the true essence of Nava.
Nava embodies the concept of beauty in all its forms. It represents the inner radiance that each woman possesses and the unique qualities that make her truly remarkable.
Our mission is to share the stories of inspiring women who are making their mark in the areas of fashion, health, lifestyle, and family. Our aim is to curate meaningful conversations where the journeys and experiences of our guests can inspire you in your own life.
We started this podcast to create a space where everyone can feel beautiful, inspired, and empowered.
Nava is not just a podcast, it's a celebration of the incredible women who have shaped our lives and the countless others who are yet to share their stories.
We can't wait for you to join us.
In this episode, we sit down with Caitlin Smeaton, the talented entrepreneur behind Copy by Caitlin, a business specializing in social media management and copywriting. Join us as we delve into Caitlin's journey of creativity, content creation, and career shifts. Caitlin not only shares her incredible journey of launching her own business after facing redundancy, but also unpacks the world of social media marketing and copywriting, revealing valuable tips of the trade to help other women confidently market themselves. Get ready to gain valuable insights from Caitlin's experiences and discover how she has carved her own path to entrepreneurial success. So grab your coffee, find a cozy spot, and enjoy this chat with the girls. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Nava podcast. I'm Stella Pashos, and as always, I'm here with my co-host, Leah Cardenas. And today we have the wonderful Caitlin Smeaton here to talk all things copywriting, content, and career shifts. Hey, girl.
Hi, girls. How are we today?
Super excited.
I am so happy to be here. I feel very famous and important. So it's a good feeling.
Thanks for coming on.
Me. Thank you.
Cool. Well, we're going to start off with a little speed dating round so our listeners can get to know a little bit about you. So it's 60 seconds and as many questions as we can get through in that time.
Oh my God, okay.
Okay. Ready?
Yes.
How do your friends describe you in a word?
Talkative.
Where did you grow up?
In Camberwell in Melbourne, but first in Indonesia when I was a baby.
Do you like to call or text?
Text.
Have you ever met anyone famous?
Yes, I met Robin Thicke in LA. He was less sleazy than you'd think. He was very normal. I was shocked.
What kind of pizza do you like?
Hawaiian.
Movie you can watch time and time again?
Peter Pan.
What's your idea of relaxing?
Scrolling on TikTok.
How many pets do you have?
Just the one, my Dennis. He's a little Italian greyhound.
Speaking of pets, what is your biggest pet peeve?
My biggest pet peeve is, oh God, there are so many.
There are so many.
I don't know where to begin. I don't know. I just think people who are like, oh my God, I don't know. I'm on the spot.
That's fine. You just love everybody for who they are.
I guess. I'm like, I was going to be like slow walkers, but that is so cliche.
I think that's Leah's pet peeve.
Yeah, that's my pet peeve.
It's just a classic though. It pisses off everybody. So that makes sense. We can go with that though, I guess.
Amazing. That's all the time for the speed dating. Thanks.
Yeah. Sorry. Sorry about that.
Okay, that's all right. So let's dive into our episode. Can you share with us a bit about your background and how you got started in the field of social media management and copywriting? And please explain to our listeners what the two are.
Okay. So I'll explain what the two are first. So social media management is just managing businesses or individuals' social media profiles. So their Instagrams, LinkedIn, Facebook, Threads, TikToks, all that kind of stuff. And it's just either they give you the content and you organize it and post it and write the captions essentially, or you do content creation on their socials as well. So you film stuff for them. So kind of like if you saw if you see like a fake tan brand and it's, you know, somebody holding the product or holding the mitts or whatever, that would be like content creation for that brand, and scheduling out all their posts and reels and TikToks and everything. So that's what social media management is. And then copywriting is just words that you see everywhere and anywhere. So if you see words on a website in an About Us section, it could be an Instagram caption on an ad, the description of like a dress if you're shopping and it says like this frilly dress. I mean, hopefully it says more than that. But yeah, it's just anywhere you see words, a copywriter has written it and onboarded a brand tone to be able to give descriptions, typically online, but yeah, and in advertising in general.
That's so cool. I've actually never met anyone that is a copywriter. Can you please explain to us what's the difference between a copywriter and copyright?
Well, I think copyright laws, as far as I understand, are to do with like legalities and things like that. Copywriting is just the action of writing and producing content, essentially producing written content, so verbal content to go with visual content most of the time. But copyright is more about legalities and laws and trademarks and things like that, which isn't, I mean, honestly, not something I know too much about, but yeah, that's what it is. But I got started in it because I was working at Channel 9 in advertising and I loved the social aspect of it. And I used to write a weekly column called Pod Weekly, and it was so fun. I don't know how I got away with it, but it was just basically rinsing the entire cohort of the sales team in Melbourne and Sydney, but in a way that's like not going to get me fired. But it was just like a gossip column basically. And every Friday it would just be like a description of everything that's gone on in the office that week or outside of the office. And I really enjoyed that. And then I was made redundant in COVID for like, I think I was off for like 6 weeks or 7 weeks. And I was looking for more creative roles. I was like, okay, like this is obviously what I enjoy doing. It's not like I'm desperately seeking to sell digital and print media. So I was kind of, you know, I was happy to be given an opportunity to sort of like force myself out into the world. And then they gave me my job back, obviously because they restructured. And then I was like, okay, lovely opportunity. I'll go back to my job. And then I lasted about 7 weeks and I was just like, no, I have no interest in doing this at all. And because I'd sort of had the opportunity and the push to like see what was out there, I just quit after 7 weeks because my neighbour knew someone. Oh, there's Dennis.
Hey, Dennis.
The dino today. My neighbour knew somebody who needed help, who needed a blog writer, basically just doing ad hoc freelance work. But because obviously I had the privilege of living at my parents' house during COVID, and Centrelink was lit at the time, as you can imagine, I was like, okay, well, I'll quit. I've been made redundant, so I have like something to fall back on. So then, I literally just made an ABN and then started helping out this lady like for however many hours a day, charging literally $30 an hour, which, when you include tax, it's not a lot, but I didn't know, like, so I was just sort of learning as I went along. But yeah, that's how I got started. And then I just met more and more people. And as I talked more about what I was doing with friends and networks and like old, like people I used to work with, they'd be like, oh, I know someone who needs that. Or, oh, I know someone who needs this. Or would you be interested in this? And I just kept getting more and more and more work. So it just sort of evolved. But like during that time, I wasn't necessarily looking to start my own business. I just made an ABN because that's literally how you get paid. So I guess it was kind of an accident.
That's so fascinating. But I want to just take it back a step.
Yeah.
I've got a couple of things. So firstly, I want to share with the listeners how you and I know each other.
Yes.
Because Dennis made a little preview for himself, but you and I met at Melbourne Airport when our Italian greyhounds came over from Brisbane.
Yes.
And then we became pretty much besties.
We became besties immediately. Yeah, because you were there with your friend, and I was like, you were the only other person that looked to be around my age. And I was like, oh my God, like she's so cute and nice. And you popped up, and then our dogs were delayed, weren't they? For like,
Yeah.
wasn't it like they were like an hour or two?
So we got to meet all the owners. Remember that lady that had, it was like her 10th dog?
She had honestly hundreds of thousands. I was like, this is 101 Dalmatians, except they're skinny legends. Like it was really full on. But I was like, oh my God, obviously she loves these dogs.
Yeah.
And then we had everyone's emails from it. And then I think we emailed to do like a meetup because we wanted to reunite the brothers. And then it turned out you were very hilarious and normal. And I was like, cool, like not a crazy dog mum.
So funny.
A moderately unhinged dog mum like me.
So that's that. And then I also wanted to touch on your redundancy, because obviously at the moment as well, I've been made redundant.
Yeah.
It's been 5 months now, and I remember talking to you about it, and I was like, I'm so upset and I don't know what to do. And I feel like my life's just, you know, kind of like turned upside down. And you're like, what are you talking about? Just enjoy the time and the money. Like, and you've gotten a severance package. Can you talk to us about how you have such a positive mindset around redundancy? Because I feel like it's such a prominent, you know, kind of experience that a lot of people in their careers are facing at the moment.
Especially lately too. I don't know. I just get, I guess, like free money from a corporation. Like, when is that ever going to happen? Do you know what I mean? So I don't know. When I got handed like a cash payment, I was just like, oh my God, I guess I don't have credit card debt. Okay. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm never going to be upset about losing a job, similarly losing a client. I just feel like whether or not, like, work will come and go, and it shouldn't really be your whole identity. So obviously I'm still friends with everybody that I was friends with at 9, and it's like such a good network, and I love all the people there and everything. So it wasn't like the end of the world. However, obviously the stress only comes in if, you know, maybe I had a mortgage or stuff like that, but I didn't have any of those. So understandably, it's not all like roses when you've got those kind of responsibilities, but I didn't have them. So for me, I just got given a handout. And then at the time, I was on Centrelink during COVID, like everybody else, and it was amazing. Like, it was amazing. I was just applying for jobs, getting money. I don't know. I just find that, like, it's hard not to let that kind of stuff get you down, because people ensconce themselves in their own purpose, being their career or their job or their role, or however, I don't know, I just feel like you sort of identify a lot with what you do. Most people do. Obviously, it's like so normal. So when that's kind of taken out from underneath you, it's so understandable. But I just don't think I've ever been like that. Like, I've done multiple jobs, and I've never been like, oh my God, my purpose is serving food to people in Camberwell at Cocoa Black. Like, I was just like, I'm here to do a job and I'm going to do it well, and that's it. So I didn't feel... like it was my identity. So I didn't really care. I was just like, yay, free money. And then it sort of gives you a good shove as well, because you're forced to do something new. Like, you guys have now started a podcast. Do you think if you were working full time, like...
Yeah, we wouldn't have been able to start a little passion project.
Yeah, exactly right. I know. It just sort of forces you to like step out of your comfort zone. But yeah, obviously it's just like, I have to acknowledge that I was in a privileged position to like be living with my parents at the time.
Yeah, for sure. But I think the message is just like realizing where you're at in that moment, and it's happened how it's meant to. And
totally. You can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
Like, and also don't cry over free money. Like, sorry, what
could be worse.
Yeah.
I was at the hairdresser yesterday, just on the topic of Centrelink, and I was in the base and he was washing my hair, and I was like filling out my Centrelink application, and I have like, I'm like, oh my God, am I actually doing this?
I know, you feel like such a drop.
And I was like, can he see my phone? Like, should I be, I know this is probably rude to say, but I'm like, should I be worried or feel a certain way that he can see it? Like, is he judging me? I'm also getting my hair done. I know that's controversial, like, you know.
No, I'm sorry. Anyway. Like, why should we look ugly just because we're poor? Like, there's no need for it. But no, I don't know. I felt like, I definitely kind of like, I felt a little bit like, oh, this is like low key embarrassing. But then so many other people I knew were on Centrelink, and also it's your money. Like, you're paying tax, it's your money. So like,
and we still have, you know, expenses and outgoings and mortgage payments and all the things.
100%. So, and you don't necessarily like, you can't, I mean, I wouldn't say I was paid out like a massive sum or anything. So like, if I was paying rent, I would have been maybe okay for like 2 months.
That's right. Yeah.
If that. So like, it wasn't like a huge amount of money or anything, but yeah, you can't just like spend it all and live off that. And then at the time it was such high competition, and it probably still is now, like especially in tech where you've come from. It's like, yeah, pretty high competition. So you can't be expected to live off that either. So no, there shouldn't be really any shame about it, because I don't know, I just don't feel like those kind of things should define you or where you are in life. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just want to circle a little bit back. You said you were made redundant, you decided to start your own business, you got an ABN, and you seem like a really social person. Do you feel like that is what brought you all of those referrals and clients? And how do you balance your social life with managing your own business? So it's a bit, I guess, a two-part question.
Can I just jump in and say that you are certainly the busiest person I know when it comes to your social calendar?
I just love hanging with the gals. Yeah, so definitely, to answer the part one, the only reason I've ever had any clients is from knowing people and having a network. If I was just a recluse, I don't know, I've never really had any luck with cold calling. Like, I've done it before. Like, I've approached people and been like, in my head, obviously not to their face, I've been like, you need my help. I've seen your Instagram, but I could do a great job of this. Like, please let me help you. And people aren't really receptive to that. Like, even emails, they just get ignored. Even if you know people and you ask them to put in a good word, like, it doesn't always come of anything. Like, I think the benefit is in sharing what you're doing. And I just used to share it with all the people that I used to work with, that I used to catch up with. They were my first clients. And friends and people know certain people, and then they refer you. You get random messages from people you like knew back in the day that, you used to go to boutique with, and they'd be like, hey, and I'm like, hello.
Boutique is a club in Melbourne, for those that aren't aware.
Buddhas, what an establishment. So I think it's everything, really. It is, because I think it's just all conversational and all networking. But it's not like you have to be going out there like getting 700 coffees a week. But certainly when I wasn't working full time, I was going out there getting 700 coffees a week because I had nothing better to do. So I don't know. I just think it pays to maintain relationships, friendships with ex-colleagues and stuff like that, because it's really helpful. So that is certainly what I owe all that stuff to. And then to answer the second part in terms of keeping your social life, I don't know. I think like when you work for yourself, you have that flexibility. So that helps, because obviously you're not like, on Slack moving your mouse so that people see you're online, even though you've finished all your work and you've got to sit there till 5:30 or whatever it is. So you don't have that. Like, if I have an eyebrow appointment at 1 p.m. or at 4 p.m., chances are I'm going, because I've scheduled whatever work. Yeah, well, like I said, busyness doesn't mean my eyebrows are going to get out of control. And I've tattooed them, so that helps. But it's like a low maintenance girl. So yeah, the flexibility is good and that helps. And then in terms of actually keeping it up, I am so inattentive. I have so many lists. So I have a running to-do list on notes. So if someone like replies to a story being like, oh my God, we got to catch up, and I'm like, yeah, sounds great. Like, I'll have to write it down. Otherwise, unless they say something, I'll never see it again. So I write it all down in my notes, and then I have a Word doc for notes. So my Word doc is just like my to-do daily. And then I put like everything in red that's personal and everything that's professional in black, and plan it out. Then I have an Excel spreadsheet, which is like the property section of my copywriting, because I do property copywriting, which is like the descriptions on the website when houses go for sale. And then I also have an app called Time Tree, which is so good. And that's where I keep all of my social stuff in that app. It'd be like any other calendar app, but it just has extra features. So yeah, I balance it just by writing everything down and having 1,000 different schedules. Otherwise, I would be a recluse. I wouldn't be seeing anyone.
Oh, you sound like a woman after my own heart. I love being super organized.
Yeah, it's got to be done.
Oh, and since having a child, I feel like my brain just doesn't work the same way that it used to. And if you're working part-time, doing the podcast, catching up with people, fitting in date nights, appointments, it's so important to have a to-do.
My brain barely functions without a child, so I don't know how you're doing it. But yeah, if you don't already have Time Tree, it helps so much.
I'm going to get it.
So
I feel like I need it. That's a sign.
Yeah. And you can share it with people. So you can share it with your partner or your family or whoever it is you want to share it with. So yeah, it's really handy, and you can just sort of plan your lives. with other people. Share it
Amazing.
with your
Thanks for
friends.
sharing.
Helpful. Yeah.
So you set up your ABN, you just went straight to it. Were you working somewhere full-time at the time, or after you quit
It was
Nine?
after I quit.
Yeah,
I just quit because I was not happy.
Yeah.
And I had like, it's not advice I would give to someone. I wouldn't say, actually, no, that is advice I've given to my friend. I was like, you should definitely get out ASAP.
Because it kind of like just propels you into doing what you weren't prepared
have
to do. Because otherwise you just stay.
Well, exactly right. And you don't have the time. Like, you think after a full day's work, especially if you're working in the office, you're commuting, you're exhausted, you've got life admin to do, you've got housework to do, whatever social calendar you've got after work. I was then sitting down at like 8:30 at night trying to fill out a job application form or scroll on LinkedIn. Seems like, absolutely not. I'm not doing it. I'm too tired and I don't have the bandwidth or the mental capacity to do so at the end of the day. But if you have a roof over your head in some way and you can afford not to, or maybe if like your partner supports you, whatever it is, I would definitely recommend doing that, because it's so taxing when you hate your life and either you're dealing with like, micromanagers or whatever it is, like you see everybody dealing with. It's just not worth it. Like, why spend 8 hours a day miserable and then you're just trapped there because you have no energy to go looking for stuff in the middle of the night when you finally get all your life admin done. So I just quit immediately because I hated it. As in, I'd only been back for a little while and I was like, no, this is not for me. But no, I would recommend obviously getting another job and signing a contract if you're looking for another full-time job first, because obviously that's the smart thing to do. But not if you don't have to. Yeah, that's what I'd say.
Your personality, and I feel like for as long as I've known you, you have a way with words. So I feel like copywriting seems like a perfect fit for you in terms of like doing what you love. But what are some of the challenges that you've faced in setting up Caitlin & Co. and all the things around running a business?
Challenges. Same, literally same.
We've done this numerous times. So copy by Caitlin.
No, I was literally,
I'm rebranding your business.
I was saying to Stella, I wanted to rebrand, and I was like, Caitlin & Co. sounds good because I do have some and co's to add to business.
It's stuck in my head. Sorry.
I know.
Copy by Caitlin. It flows. It's a vibe. I'm sorry.
I might rebrand anyway, and then we'll need to redo this whole episode. But in terms of the hardships, I don't know. I suppose like challenges. I think boundaries is difficult. Like when it's just yourself, everything feels personal and like you have to do everything yourself and you're in charge of it. But I think the best thing to do is to separate yourself from it. Like there's the business you, and then there's like personally you. So I feel like in other like facets of life where I would reply at whatever hour to my friends or pull over to reply to something, or, just not take time for myself, but like I'm just somebody who like I prefer to instantly do stuff right now. You kind of have to like create boundaries. So like only replying between business hours or delaying scheduled emails if you have to do that, or not answering after a certain time. Like you have to create boundaries in your business with clients. Otherwise, and I think like there's been some stuff I've done and it's just like not an appropriate setup at all, like because I didn't know what I was doing, obviously. So yeah, that's definitely one challenge.
Just on that, I was going to say, I think a lot of people think when people talk about boundaries, they immediately put boundaries on other people, but it's really for yourself, like boundaries with yourself.
That's what a boundary is. Yeah. Jonah Hill. So a boundary is for yourself. Exactly. It's not expectations of others. It's just like, I'll be available between this and this time. But then you actually have to instigate not replying after that time, because otherwise people will expect you to do that. Or sometimes even like if you've done work and it's finished and you finish it at 7 p.m, to be honest, like I'm a complete hypocrite. I still sometimes do this. But if I finish work at 7 p.m. and I just want to off my mind, I just want to send it immediately. But I have to physically stop myself from sending it, because you can't be setting that expectation that it's always going to be done after hours, or that people can contact you after hours, because after hours I'm at Yochi gossiping, obviously, with a friend. So you can't just be like setting the precedent that you're going to be like, oh my God, yeah, I'll do that right away, because you shouldn't be doing that.
Obviously.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And it's so easy to form that habit as well. And once you get into it, it's really hard to go back.
100, exactly right. I think it's just a learning curve though. Like you just kind of, it's good advice. Like I would say that's good advice that I can give, is just to really define that early. Other challenges would be tax. Like when I did a Bachelor of Property and Real Estate at uni, and I failed accounting and economics twice, as in like they were like, you are not going to complete this degree because you failed 4 units. And I was like, let me in. I got a tutor and I eventually got like 50%. But I'm really bad. I don't want to brag, make you guys feel inferior. But I'm a maths whiz. Yeah. So I was just really terrible at that. So, and obviously they don't teach you about tax in school. Okay. Nastiness. So yeah, I minced myself with the tax office. Like I just had like a family friend sort of helping me with it. But I think what I needed was someone who was in the software system of mine, being like, you need to do this, you need to do this. Because when I first started, I was just making invoices on Canva, which is fine. Like it's fine if you're starting out to do that. It just means you later have to upload them all. I didn't really know how much tax to put away. I don't know what a BAS is. Do you think I now know, after 3 years of business, that I know what a BAS is? No, I don't, because I have an accountant. Like I should have at the beginning. Shout out to Nick. He's so helpful and lets me bother him with all sorts of questions. But yeah, that's another challenge. It's definitely like not managing your finances as such, but yeah, learning about tax and accounting and all that kind of stuff, because it's really important that you have a grasp on it. Because now I have a huge tax bill that I'm paying back. I'm just all for outsourcing. Like I'm not here to be an accountant. Otherwise I would be at one of the large 4 in the city, like living my numbers dream, but evidently it's not my vibe. But yeah, those were some of the challenges. I'm trying to think of other ones. Maybe the other challenge actually of working for yourself is that is like venting. Like obviously when you have difficulties or you have whatever challenges, whether it's like conflicts or, personality grievances or just general stress, it's boring for your friends or your partner to hear about. Not boring, but like, so you just don't have colleagues to vent to. And I feel like I'm such a venter. Like if there's something on my mind, I would want to rant and rave. And then I'm like, oh, okay, now I've got my thoughts in order. So luckily I had like almost like a business mentor. So it was technically, she's one of my clients, but I contract for her business. She runs a similar business as well, a copywriting business that also does social media management. And I was a contractor for her for the last 3 years. And she was really good because we were all in the same industries. Like she taught me so much and she was a really good person to have. So I think if you're going out on your own, it's good to try and in your networking have someone that you catch up, for regular coffees with, or somebody that's in the same industry as you or in the same industry as one of your clients. And it's just helpful to like brainstorm and to vent, I would say. But yeah. The challenge is definitely not being able to vent.
I love the idea of mentors, whether that be in your personal life. I think if you're in a relationship or in a marriage, I think having someone you can relate back to and discuss issues going on, or in your professional life. And I think that's what this space is about also for women who are starting off their own thing. All our guests, you're their mentors.
Yay! Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, 100%. I couldn't agree more.
We'll be back after a short break.
Hey Stella, as you know, it's my sister's wedding coming up and I need to book in all my beauty appointments, but I don't want to go to all the different places. Do you have a one-stop shop that I can go to?
Well, as you know, I've just returned from my holiday to Bali, which was incredible. And I actually stopped by the Beauty Tribe salon in Albert Park. So it's your one-stop shop for everything you've described. I got a beautiful spray tan, which looked nice and natural. I don't like to sit in the sun. So I got a spray tan, so I'm feeling nice and fresh and glowy. And the best thing about the salon is that they're chemical-free, they're cruelty-free, healthy, ethical, and use medical-grade equipment. The salon is aesthetically pleasing, the staff are incredible, and the treatments are divine. I also had my lashes, brows, and nails done. I sound high maintenance, but it was just this one time for this holiday and it was a beautiful pamper day. And I got to pick up some incredible goodies on the way out, like a tan extender, a lash serum, and some of their mulberry silk products.
That sounds amazing. I'm going to call them right now. Nava listeners will receive an exclusive 10% off. Simply call or book online. On the day of your appointment, mention Nava Podcast to your therapist to receive 10% off. Let's get back to the conversation. So you spoke a little bit about scheduling eyebrow appointments, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, whatever it works for you. But what are some other ways that you, I guess, incorporate self-care into your really busy schedule?
What were the self-care things I was thinking about? I think, again, it just goes back to being organized. So, like, I feel like if I've scheduled my day in advance, like, obviously, yeah, having flexibility and all that to sort of do the self-care appointments or whatever it is that makes you feel good, whether it's like going for a walk or seeing a friend or, like, I don't know, going to Bounce Inc., whatever's fun. I think that, yeah, the way to actually get it done is just by organizing yourself with like lists and calendars and all that kind of thing, because that way, like, you can see if you're making time for yourself or not that week. So sometimes, like, I go through phases of doing yoga and things like that. Sometimes if I get too busy, I'll just like not renew my monthly membership, because if I'm getting up at 6 a.m. to start the day, I don't really want to be getting up for like a 5:30 a.m. class and then like being behind. So it doesn't always work. I probably just do it in phases, but I just think it's all about, yeah, being really organized and sort of laying out your week, laying out your schedule, seeing if it's exercise that you can fit in, seeing if it's catch up with friends that you can fit in, appointments. Like, sometimes I'll just schedule all my work for like the afternoon and then just spend the first day doing it, which means obviously you just work until 10 p.m., but like that's fine because you just had half a day off to like do whatever you need to do. So
are there any daily rituals that you stick to religiously?
No. No.
Or any practices that, you know, help to keep you motivated?
Drinking coffee is one, and that's it. I know that sounds so boring, but there's not, I don't know. Not. I just wish, I see these people and they're these like successful entrepreneurs and they're out there and they're like, yeah, I get up at the crack of dawn and I've like cooked a 7-course meal for my 8 children. And then I do 7 Pilates classes and a 10-kilometer run. I am not walking my dog on the daily. Okay. Like, sometimes my neighbor's doing it for me, bless her. So no, I wish I did something like that. I don't do, like, I've tried to journal. I've tried to meditate. I'm just not very attentive. So the only ritual I could ever think of that's any kind of consistency is having a coffee and having a clean, comfortable space. So like I'll find that if there's something that's unclean, even when I was like working in an office, if it looks unclean, I'm just going to think about it and I'm not going to be doing anything for anyone. So
distracting.
So I think like maybe if you could call like having a clean space ritual and being comfortable, like I'll
definitely.
Like I'll be in a matching tracksuit. If it doesn't match, guess who's not working today? Me. So I think, comfort, cleanliness, coffee.
Oh, I so relate to that. I hosted Christmas this year and had like 20, 30 people over. They left at like in the morning, 1 a.m. I actually stayed up until the whole house was clean and vacuumed so that the next day I could wake up and it was clean.
Like
I couldn't sleep.
It's just not worth it. Like, you don't want to wake up in an absolute pit of despair. Like, it's not fun. So I really enjoy doing those things and that helps me. But it's not always like consistent. It just is life dependent. But I wish I was somebody that did journaling and manifesting. I have a manifestation board. Like, I put up photos of like holidays and like money and bank accounts and all that kind of stuff. So like I do that, but I feel like I'm not super consistent with it. So I'm probably not the framework.
Visualization. Like, did you watch the Arnold Schwarzenegger series on Netflix?
No, I didn't. What's that?
He basically talks about Arnie's life and how at every step of the way he visualized his success in the next chapter, and he literally achieved everything he set his mind to because he really believes in the power of visualization. So
You see that
Must
so
work.
much. So many successful people then reveal that they're like hectic manifestors. And I'm just like, oh my God, okay. So it's not woo-woo at all. I love it. I am really into that. I'm just not super consistent.
What are some of your hobbies and favorite activities and pastimes to de-stress, decompress, or just to enjoy?
It's really the only thing I do. I always joke with this because, like, I feel like a typical Australian thing is to be a relentless binge drinker, and that's the only thing there is to do. So that is certainly one outlet. But I think it's just seeing friends. Like, I don't think there's anything more important than than spending quality time with people that make you laugh. Like, when you're just like gasping for air with your best friend, just beside yourself in tears. That's all that matters. Like, I could be unemployed and in a gutter, and if I'm just wetting my pantaloons at a joke, it's fine because, like, short-term happiness, hilarious. So yeah, I think that. So I'll always be seeing people. Like, I'll always be going for a walk with someone, going for coffee, obviously going for drinks. I think that's slowed down a bit now because I'm obviously an elder millennial, so I'm not bouncing back quite how I used to. But, like, yeah, I feel like over a couple of drinks, I'm just going to talk to someone for 12 hours.
Would you say you're definitely an extrovert?
Yeah, I am. I'm an extrovert, but I love being alone. Like, I'm an only child, so I love my own space. And my boyfriend Tom's exactly the same. So we really like our alone time and love our own space. But it's like I want to be with everyone when I'm out and, like, talking and catching up and plotting and, like, debriefing and pre-briefing 24/7. But then when I come home, if someone's there, like, why are you talking to me? Do you know what I mean? Like, I want to be left alone. Yeah. It's a bit of both.
How do you balance that, like, living together?
Well,
do you find that too, Leah? Like, definitely needing your alone time. I don't live with my partner at the moment, but I'm just curious.
Enjoy it while you can. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, how do you find it? Because we have a 2-bedroom place, but it's small. But we don't have 2 offices. So he'll be working, if he's working from home, he'll be working on the dining table, but he's supposed to be in the office more, which he's not. I don't know. We get through it by bickering. I'm an arguer and a bickerer. So yeah, I'm not going to be like, oh, we're just so in sync. Like, we just bicker about shit every day, stuff every day.
We have a shared calendar. So I like schedule if I'm going out with a friend or if I'm going to go have some time alone.
Yeah.
That's helpful.
Yeah, we do that as well with Time Tree, come to think of it. But I use it more, so all my plans are in there. But yeah, I feel like if you're making plans and seeing your friends, you're never going to really feel, like, stifled. If you're both living at home doing absolutely nothing, then yeah, it'll be a bit like that. But I don't know. We did that in COVID. Like, we were both working from home in COVID and pretty much living at his parents' house. And it was actually really fun. So, but I think it's, like, spatial. Like, we live in a smaller unit with, like, a small courtyard. And that I find irritating sometimes, especially when you're trying to wind down and just have your own thoughts after a day of work or thoughts or being out, whatever. But then when we were at his parents', there's, like, so many different zones in this, like, massive house. Like, you had your own space and, you know, it was nice. So it's probably a spatial thing.
So I'm really interested in this idea of the modern woman and how society is really framing what we should be. Do you feel that your idea of who she is and your idea of femininity has maybe changed over time?
Yeah, like, I think it's changed in the sense that, like, I don't feel the need to define what the modern woman looks like. I think in terms of the more information I absorb about femininity and feminism and women living under a patriarchy, the less I seek to define that or what that would look like. And I think women and feminine presenting people can either embrace or reject the traditional notion of femininity, and that's fine. I think, like, yeah, without sounding like a cringe millennial that's going to slay anyway. So it doesn't matter. Like, I feel like it's just more so a concept and it's more an individual expression. How it's changed over time, though, I don't know. Like, I see the concept of femininity in 2 different lights. Like, one as in maybe what's becoming more popular is you see now, like, so many more female entrepreneurs and, you know, in the Forbes top, whatever top it is, top 100, top 50, I don't know. And just like women who are now in better positions to achieve things that they weren't able to achieve before because of patriarchal standards. And, you know, really, you see them, you know, really like grasping a hold of their energy and being decision makers, being breadwinners, all that kind of stuff, which is fantastic. But then on the other hand, you've got like more of a traditional feminine role of maybe women who would prefer to be taken care of and, you know, spend their time in the home and do all that. And I think that's awesome too. I mean, really, who wants to be actually having a job? Personally, I would love to lie around and be fed grapes. That is really where I belong. So I don't know what I'm doing here with my own business, but yeah, I just think it's subject to whatever you make of it, really. I don't know if that answers the question a bit vague.
Yeah, that's fun.
Absolutely. Speaking of relationships and 6 degrees of separation, one of our previous guests, Amber, spoke about how, you know, she lent more into her femininity and all the things. And then small world, you actually were doing some of the copywriting for her husband, Brad's developments. So remember that property in Richmond?
Oh, yeah. Leafing.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Oh, wow. What a tiny little world. Yeah, those properties were awesome. They were so, so, so nice. I like picked out my bedroom. I was just alone in this house being like, that'll do.
Speaking of your time in real estate, do you get inspired about your own, you know, dream home and how you want to kind of style? Like what are some of the best homes that you've walked through and what makes them stand out? I'm just genuinely curious because I see on your stories you're always posting these incredible homes.
Yeah, I saw the coolest one today. I think like because my parents are hoarders and had lived in a completely unrenovated 1960s Georgian house my whole life, which I obviously found mortifying. Not that like, yeah, obviously you're lucky to have a house. Don't get me wrong. I'm not like, oh, but just like aesthetically not my vibe. I was so drawn to real estate because it's like so glamorous and you see these like beautiful showings, and I drag my parents to all these open for inspections because I wanted them to have a better life. I'm like, you could do this. Like you could do this renovation. You could sell your land and buy something smaller and all that kind of stuff. So I feel like the whole reason I got into real estate is because I love the aesthetic aspect of it. But in terms of my favorite houses, I'm definitely a coastal contemporary girl. All the houses that I love are real, like coastal contemporary interiors. But obviously throughout Melbourne, and I typically do all the property copywriting around the southeast. So like Stonington, Richmond, like Burundara areas, it's a lot of heritage listed homes, a lot of period homes, a lot of mostly Victorian and Edwardian houses. And it's always for people who have like old money, obviously, and these like incredible double fronted properties, and they just do the best extensions. Like I was at one in Campbelltown, and it was just absolutely exquisite. This lady was like so cool. She pretty much flips houses. I guess it must be her full-time job. And it was amazing. Like they had a fully like separate rear studio. It's just like engineered floorboards, arched hallways, ornate period detail, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I definitely love like contemporary and light coastal interiors. That's my inspo.
Speaking of style, how would you describe your own personal style, and do you feel like it influences your business?
Sort of, yeah. Like I think I really jumped on board the capsule wardrobe phase. Not that it's new. It's just something that's obviously been recently labeled. And I love a label. So I was like, great, I need to do that. I love the idea of repurposing things you already have and putting together neutral colors. And I feel like day to day, that's what I want because I don't want to have to think about it. Like I actually pretty much wear the same thing every day. If I'm leaving the house, I'll wear like a long sleeve black top and then these like comfortable stretchy pants and like a vest or something. Like I always want to be comfy and just sort of neutral and classy and easy, white boots, white bag or whatever it is. But then on the other hand, I feel like socially I love wearing color. Like any event, I love wearing color and I love wearing more statement pieces that are just fun because I feel like that represents my personality. So in terms of influencing my business, maybe like for my business colors, I wanted to do pink and blue because I feel like pink and blue is very me. Like I feel like I'm quite, you know, girly and bold and I like those colors. I like blue in business because I was doing this piece on a blog that says it like, it's kind of like what you were saying, Leah, about it resonating psychologically in terms of customers trust the color blue. So I was like, I'll weasel that one in there. And then pink is my favorite color. So I just thought I'd put, those two together. So I guess so. But it's kind of different. Like some clients, they just want really like neutral, easy, kind of clean Instagram grid. And I really do like that. But then I see other people's stuff and it's really loud and colorful and bold. And I love that too. So it's, I don't know, kind of a split personality job.
Are there any certain trends that you find particularly inspiring or that you love to incorporate into your work?
Like social media trends?
Yeah, and I guess even when it comes to personal style.
In terms of personal style, I don't know. I quite just like the minimalistic vibe. I think that was definitely an inspiration because I was like, oh, it's cool just to wear neutral tones, sort of. Yeah, I guess I kind of, that's my only real answer. That's the only thing I can think of.
That ties into how you described that, keeping your space really clean as well. And even looking at your surroundings now, everything's just like clean, minimal. There's a bit of the pop of color, your favorite color.
Yeah,
so
that, I have like pink stuff here. So like this is beautiful. Like pink colors, but everything else is more like, like neutral and then like natural colors, like a little bit of sage and stuff like that, which I really like.
You're the color and the fun in the space. That's why.
I love a little pop. Yeah. But like overall, I love like a minimalist aesthetic because I feel like it keeps your mind clear,
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So moving on, I guess, to the more practical aspects of your business. Tell us about your process. What would your line of questioning involve when you are developing a social media strategy?
Yes. So it basically starts by having a discovery call. So if someone's recommended you and you want to give them a call to discover what they want out of it, you just have a chat and you just ask them the questions of, exactly what their objectives are. Like, are they just wanting someone to maintain their social profiles? Are they wanting someone to write LinkedIn posts? What's their budget? I'll always ask that outright because I want to know what their expectations are and if I can meet them. And then also like what their business is about. And this isn't something I necessarily do that in practice, but you should do it. Like instead of thinking like money-wise, you should think if it's a good fit personality-wise and business-wise. Because I feel like most of the time I'll just take on whatever because I'll just be like, oh yeah, like of course more work. Like I obviously want to do that. I want to build my business. But I think as I get on with it more, I'm like, is this fun? Like, is this what I want to do? Because sometimes it's not. So I think that's important when you're speaking to someone to actually think if you want to do work for them. Obviously, that's not what I'm saying in my conversation, but you're just asking them about their business and things like that. And then from there, you go away and create a proposal. So I might say, X amount of posts per month, X amount of TikToks, daily moderation, which is like replying to comments and DMs, things like that, X amount of reels, and give them 2 or 3 different options in packages. And I used to do it on like a weekly cost because it sort of looks like less, but I don't know. I think if people are going to, most people pay monthly. So I feel like I just make like a monthly package and then it's a bit more flexible. So you make some packages and then send it off to them and see what they think. And then you probably go and have a meeting with them at that stage. They might give you an inkling of which package option they're looking. Obviously, this is just for socials. For copywriting, it's a bit different. I'll go into that. And then you sort of gather information to create a strategy document. So I gather information 2 ways. One is in the meeting, we'll go through their objectives, who their target market is, like the target audience, their key messaging, so what they're actually saying. So for a real estate agent, for example, it would be like selling high-end properties in Albert Park for 2 million and over. That would be like one point of key messaging. And their content pillars. So, and most people don't know what content pillars are. Obviously, why would you? You don't work in social media. Why would you know what that is? So you just sort of talk through them and just basically explain to them how you would organize their content. So if it was like, you know, a beauty brand, you might have content pillars of like product showcase. So you're showcasing a product. This is our new cleanser. Or it might be education. So it might be, you know, giving the audience an education on like the different layers of skin and how the products actually work on a functional level. Or case studies. It might show you like before and afters of somebody suffering with acne and they've used their product, blah, blah, blah. So, or it might be testimonials, like different stuff like that. So you talk through what their content pillars are and get a better idea of what they think they are too. And then you might make some initial recommendations as well. But you basically, like if their Instagram's like crap, you'd be like, let's do this. Let's switch this up. Like people sometimes don't have like a link in their Instagram bio for their product.
Just something as simple as that.
Yeah, so simple. I mean, really, it's not rocket science. I'm not saving lives. But yeah, and then I'll go and I'll make a strategy, like a social media strategy document. So I give them a questionnaire as well, and that's quite a detailed questionnaire that goes into all the aspects of their business, much more in depth of their objectives and their target market, what their customer looks like tell me who your customer is, what they do on the weekends, all that kind of stuff. Because obviously I'm typically working with established brands, and how am I going to convey their product if I don't know everything about their business or as much as I can? So yeah, they send that back to me. So I've got their questionnaire, and then we've had a meeting and a call. Then I make a social media strategy document, which I don't know, it could be like 10 to 20 pages, depends how much detail I think they'll want. Sometimes I just don't, sometimes they don't even care. Like sometimes they just like do whatever. So I might just do like a more shortened version, but I might go into detail for myself so that I've got something to refer to. But it's really helpful for them because I do like an Instagram mock-up. So I'll give them an example of what their Instagram could look like using like inspo pictures or their own photos and just putting it together in a different way. Or like lots of examples of like reels and TikToks, and usually stuff I've shown them in the meeting as well. Yeah, and then I give them like a service agreement and they sign a contract, usually for like 6 or 12 months. But I do it monthly anyway. Like I feel like when you're signing a new client, no one's going to be in a 12, not no one's, but typically people don't want to be locked in for a year. They want to see if it's going to work or not. So sometimes you might put like a probation period of like 3 to 4 months in, because you can't even really see the impact in like a month anyway with socials, I think anyway. Yeah, so that's the process of onboarding. But then copywriting's more so like you just see what they want. So like I have a client that I do their LinkedIn posts for, and it's from the point of view of the company, not from an individual. And so, yeah, we just sort of went back and forth as to what I'd need to do, how many LinkedIn posts it would be, what the work would entail. And then I have like a half day rate and a full day rate. And so I just work it out based on that. So I have like a monthly contract with them, and I do like half a day a week. So like 4 hours a day, 4 hours a week. Yeah, so that's how that works. And then you just have to onboard all their branding, and I don't know. I like to do a bit of back and forth to be like, does this resonate with you? What do you think it is?
That sounds like a lot of work for the social media onboarding that you have to do to win the client. It must be hard when they don't continue when you've done all of that research.
Yeah.
But it's so important to be that thorough to win the client, to have the ongoing work. So it's like a catch-22, isn't it?
It is. Well, now I think when I first started, I didn't charge for it, but now I charge for it. So like additionally, I would just do all of that setup, but typically it's because I would know those people. Now I work with businesses that I don't always have a connection to necessarily. It's not a friend. It's not a past colleague. It's not a company I used to work for or anything like that. Like now it's new businesses. So you do charge for it because it takes 2 weeks at least. It's like 2 weeks of working on a little bit every day in some capacity, or like days.
Time is valuable, right?
Yeah. So I would charge maybe like half of a month for the setup for it now. So yeah, that's how you combat that. But it's one of those things where you're like, oh my God, like, should I can I do that? But then you're like, well, yeah, I'm not doing 2 weeks of work for free. Like, absolutely,
A lot of our guests that we've spoken to have shared that same sentiment about, I think it's almost like a worthiness kind of element of knowing
imposter
exactly.
syndrome. Yeah.
And your services are so valuable to these brands. I know you said you don't feel like you're saving lives, but you're adding incredible value to businesses that they otherwise didn't have. So that's as valuable to the business as they perceive it to be.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And you do, I think also once you go into explaining all that, people understand, because it's sort of like when we were talking about like before today, how do you sell people on social media? It's more so once you talk them through what's involved in it, they realize even more so how much they can't be bothered doing it themselves. Like if you're just even explaining to people how you'd organize their content pillars, they're like, they're not like, oh my God, you're a scientist. They're just like, oh my God, cannot be bothered doing that. It's like the same for me. Like I barely do my own Instagram, don't care, can't be bothered. Should I be marketing myself? Yes. I can't be bothered. I can't be bothered doing even my own stuff. Do you know what I mean? I'm not even setting time in a week, which I hope to improve, but I can't be bothered doing it myself when I'm doing it for other people, because I care about other people's stuff, obviously, because they are paying me. So you want to do it. But yeah, I think once you sort of go through it with them and then they're like, oh, it's not just doing a random post here and there. And obviously most of the time, if they've been doing a random post here and there, it's not going well. So they've got no intent, they've got no purpose, they've got no strategy. And that's, not conducive to like a successful.
Oh, I like that. So for our listeners, if you're starting your own business, the 3 things you need to consider are intent, purpose, and strategy.
Yes, there you go. I love that. Intent, purpose, and strategy. Exactly right. Yeah. I can't say that I did that for myself though, but you should. Yeah.
Maybe you have. A lot of the things that you spoke to earlier in terms of qualifying in and out clients remind me of what we have to do in my sales career. And one of the methodologies I follow is the BANT sales methodology. So obviously you're selling in a way your own services as much as you're in the copywriting industry or essentially in sales also. And the BANT methodology speaks to budget, authority, need, timeline. And that's something that your qualification process reminded me of kind of what I would use in qualifying in and out potential clients and deals.
I don't think I've heard that before. That's so handy. This is something I would have learned at uni and then immediately forgotten.
It just helps to provide structure to the way that you allocate your time to ensure that you're delivering impact and, it returns in the outcome desired. But just interesting. Perfect. Do you think your time in sales at 9 helped form some of the processes and structure to your business now?
I would say just in terms of talking to clients and entertaining people. I mean, not like bribing them with alcohol like we did in media, but definitely entertaining and liaising. Because obviously part of my role there, I was in sales, but I wasn't a sales. Was I? What was my role?
I was an account executive.
An account executive, yeah. It wasn't that long ago. I'm like, who was I? I wasn't actually responsible for selling the media. I was just the account executive. So I was just doing all the back end stuff and then going out and meeting clients, which is great. So I think it definitely helps. And I think sales environments are so fun. Like they're fun, they're social, you meet people, like you do fun stuff. Media is such a cool landscape to be a part of and learn about. So I definitely think it absolutely helps. I think it helps build confidence as well, because when you're speaking to people and they're dealing with like lots of money in their budgets, it kind of, I don't know, not like makes you grow up, but you kind of like, okay, I need to impress and I need to do my best. And I just think it helps learning to talk to people a lot for sure on a professional level and not just, gas bagging.
I was also going to share for myself, having worked in tech most recently, and the influence of artificial intelligence and chat GPT. Are you finding any challenges with working with a system like that? And how can people use it in a way that benefits their business and their time efficiencies, but also allowing their personality to come through and humanize the content they're creating if you are using it?
Yeah, such a good question. ChatGPT has been amazing. I find it so funny though, because people are like, "Oh, it's coming for your job," and I'm like, I wish it was coming for my job. And even if it was coming for your job, people can't be bothered to learn how to use it. Even if like I could put in 2 minutes, write a social media strategy for this business and it did one that I don't need to edit, people still can't be bothered doing that. So A, your job's going nowhere, but B, ChatGPT is only as good as the prompts that you put into it. So I have learned how to use it from TikTok. So every single person, I just watch video after video after video, late into the night, into the early morning, with my headphones in, because I just want to learn all about it. So I started like a ChatGPT prompt library in my notes on my desktop. So I've just like categorized it into article writing, caption writing, strategy creation. Half of the prompts I've never even used. I've just got them there in case I need help. But it doesn't write stuff for you. What it's good for doing is it's like an assistant to help you write the bones of what you're doing. And I literally was just in a workshop that was talking about this by Bossy. She's like a copywriter and has her own agency, and she was just talking about this. But it's like the bones, and then you need to go back and edit it and look at like then put your like brand marketing and sort of audience tone of voice hat on, so to speak, and pick it apart and reword it. Like even with like property descriptions, for example, I have tried so many times to put in really thorough, specific prompts. So you put links into a business's LinkedIn or another piece of copy. You say, I want the tone to be this, that, and the other. I don't want the tone to be this. I want it to be this many words. The word count's always off as well. But anyway, and I'll still get a property description that's like, this house is large, it has bricks. And I'm like, oh my God, you little detective.
Seriously?
I love this. Like, yeah. So it's definitely not coming for your job, but it's a wonderful asset. It's just that you need to learn how to use it. And how I do that is from TikTok, because so many people are on there. I've just made this really extensive library of prompts. So every single time I need to write a blog or something, I'll generate ideas for it mainly. I don't have it write the blog for me, because it's never really, not like it's never that good, but maybe my prompts just aren't good enough. But yeah, you can't really do it for you. It's just good for generating ideas and a bit of structure, perhaps.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Working in the education space and being a teacher, I've not been afraid of it, but want to teach students how they can use it to help them, because it's not going anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it doesn't have that human essence to it. It definitely is artificial, and what humans provide that can't be taken away. Totally. But it's just, how can you use it as your personal assistant? That's the best way, I think, to put it.
Literally just like an ideas generator. I find that the actual copy that it spits out is really descriptive. Like I'm fairly descriptive and use a lot of adjectives, because I do predominantly like residential property copy, which is very much so like that. But even then it's sometimes too much. Like sometimes you get a bit of pushback being like, it's, you don't want to oversell something, or it's a bit too flamboyant. So I find that the copy that it does spit out, not that it's about not property copy as such, because I don't put that in there, but different stuff. It's just like really like lavish and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay.
It doesn't sound quite right. Yeah.
Yeah, it just doesn't sound right. But it's great. Like it's so good to get a structure of something. And yeah, like you said, it's not going anywhere. And I'm interested to see how it goes in schools, because apparently like, you know how we used to have Turn It In, and it would see if you plagiarize something from Wikipedia. Not that I know anything about that. And now apparently it has like a scanny thing to see if ChatGPT has written it. I'm like,
it does.
How can it know that? It's crazy.
But it's not 100% right either. I played around a bit with it, and I wrote something and I put it in there and said, did you write it? And it said, yes, I did. And I said, no, you didn't. I did. And it's like, oh, sorry, I got it wrong. So it's not that smart.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Yeah. Anyway, it's great. It's a good tool to have. I'm excited to have it help me more. Like, why wouldn't you want help? Like, I don't want to be out here braining it up every day of my life. So
I see it. How can it be more productive?
It's just
exactly. What else can it do?
Like the accountant Maximize it.
Yes.
Maximize it for
100%.
its strengths, not its weaknesses.
Oh my God, I wonder if I could have put like accounting questions in there and saved myself an absolute hellscape. Anyway.
What are the steps a business needs to take to make sure they don't get into accounting troubles and have to pay back?
Never
Maybe
do
like-
it
tax man.
yourself.
Get
Never
an
DIY.
accountant.
It's like when people say to me, like people who have like normal corporate jobs and they're like, oh yeah, I'm just doing it on MyGov. I'm like it gives me chronic anxiety and the shivers because I'm just like, you can't be trusted. If I can't be trusted, you can't be trusted. Like pay someone to do it. I'm just all for throwing money at people with the expertise to do what they need to do. Like why bother my brain with this silliness?
Mhm.
I could never,
Leave it
I
to
don't
the
know.
experts.
Exactly right, 100%.
Leah, did we have any other questions or do we want to jump into the last segment?
Yeah, let's jump in the last segment. So
Okay.
we've broken up Nava into an acronym. We've got Navigate, Aspire, Value, and Achieve. And at the end of each episode, we ask our guests a question around each of these 4 pillars.
Cool.
Amazing. So we'll start with Navigate. As a self-employed entrepreneur, how do you approach setting goals and creating a roadmap for your business success? You've touched on a few points about this, but did you have anything more to add?
I did some goal setting at the start of this year, which I've never done. I did not go to a festival on New Year's Day, which, growth. And I stayed home and did like this planning in my diary. So I set out 5 goals for the year. And then I looked at the actual smaller steps at what it would take to achieve those goals. And then I put time limits on those goals. Obviously, I forgot about it by April. I haven't opened it since, and it's nearing the end of July. But it was really helpful in terms of giving yourself like just a little brain vision, like a little, a plan in your head of maybe where you want to go. And also like me and Tom did some planning sessions as well. Like me and my partner Tom would go to the park and then we did like some goals for the year and what we wanted to achieve. And he was like, you should do this, you need to expand, you need to hire other people. And I'm like, leave me alone. I'm scared. So yeah, I think that was good. Just general goal setting, but then just breaking it down into steps is helpful. It would be even more helpful if I regularly revisited that.
Maybe this conversation will prompt you to
I know.
reflect.
I know. I'm going to go find where I put it. I don't even know where that diary
You're
is.
welcome.
Yeah.
Well, I think that leads perfectly into our second question. Aspire, what is one of those goals, whether it be personal or for your business?
Well, a personal one is to move to Bali, which I am doing. So because I know, hey, because all my work is remote apart from the property copywriting. So because I do it remotely as well with floor plans and photos, but I'm going to train up and hire someone in my place because typically they prefer you to go through it, which is understandable. So I'm moving to Bali in a month. But I've got to come back for some weddings. So that's one goal, which I have achieved. I've almost finished my visa stuff, which should be done in a few weeks. That's cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah, fun. So that's like
Cool.
a personal goal. And I guess it's semi-professional because I'll see who I can meet there. There's like so many other like digital nomads there. And I think, again, it's about like networking and making friends. I feel like I never underestimate the value of making friends. And then a professional goal, I have a couple. The one I actually set was to expand and hire people. And I've pretty much got on board a new subcontractor to help me with content creation. So like filming all the TikToks and reels and stuff for my clients whilst I'm not physically there, or like, because I'll be back and forth between Indonesia. And then, onboarding an actual property copywriter. That's another one. But I guess like, I don't know, I suppose I'm supposed to want to be an agency owner. Like I would love to not do any of the day-to-day stuff, but like train people up so that they can do it. And I would oversee it and focus purely on new business development and new clients. So I guess that's it. But like, I don't know, like I don't exactly have like this like insatiable hunger to expand because it's nerve-wracking. And I think maybe other people who have gone out on their own might feel the same way because I'm a bit of a control freak. So it's sort of hard to trust other people and let go. But then again, other people have trusted me. So I don't know. It's not like it can't be done. So yeah, that would be one goal. I haven't really so I suppose I am doing stuff towards that, but a bit haphazardly. But the other goal I had, this is what I was thinking about this morning before the pod. I really think that once I train up people and once I can semi-achieve that, so like in terms of the day-to-day, the social media content, creation, scheduling, copywriting, once I can maybe outsource or employ people for that day-to-day stuff, I would really like to work as a TikTok strategist for businesses because it is so fun and I want to be purely creative. Like copywriting is really good and it's obviously something that I'm good at, but it's not always creative and that's, it's not always it's not me cracking gags and like making witty captions, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, like it's got so many different layers to it. But I just feel like being a TikTok strategist for businesses would be so funny. Imagine if you were the TikTok, the social media manager for Ryanair. Hilarious. Or have you seen how unhinged Duolingo's account is? Like, it's not well. And that's where I need to be. I need to put my mental instability into that platform and help other businesses appear as mentally unstable because there's so many funny things you can do. And that's all my brain thinks about 24/7 is, I don't know. I just feel like I want to be doing something that's maybe more creative once I can expand, perhaps.
I love it. We're going to have a chat in a year's time and see where you're at.
Ladies, I'll be here.
Well, in Bali.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, sorry, I will be here in Bali. I'll be here to help in Bali.
The next one is around value. Can you share any insights on recognizing the value of your skills and services and effectively conveying that to clients?
Yes. I would say the best way to convey it to clients is to show them reputable brands that you think would resonate with them. So I don't know, I guess if you've got someone and you get to know them a little bit more on a discovery call, you might try to stereotype them a little bit in your head as to who you think they follow or who they maybe look up to, or actually look at their account and look at the kind of people that they follow, like the kind of brands that they follow or purchase from, or just straight out ask them. And then talk about those brand strategy. Why do you resonate with those brands? What help you build that brand connection? What language do they use? Who is their target audience? Why are you their target audience? And I think that way, if you're sort of talking someone through this parasocial relationship between brand and customer, it really helps them understand how they are going to use social strategy, because everyone's to do it for their own business, because everyone's a customer. When you read, I think recently I saw these pants on Princess Polly or something, fast fashion. But I saw an ad and I remember reading the description and I was like, oh, am I buying these? It was a really good description and it just sold me. I can't even remember what it said now. Obviously it didn't make a lasting impact, but I saw it and I was like, oh my God, yes. And I just think especially copywriting within the social media sphere is so important and such a clear converter. So yeah, to help people understand the value, I would just draw examples from other brands that they purchase from or follow, because then it just makes more sense when you can relate it to something like that.
Okay, so for people starting off, it doesn't necessarily have to be brands that you've worked with that you're relating it to. It's just brands that the customer resonates with.
100%. Yeah. You could talk about, you can talk about anything. Another really good one, this is something I learned from the Bossy workshop I just did. Her name's Elise. She does this example where she makes two fake businesses or two fake companies, and she goes through their branding with her students, because she obviously runs courses. And so one is a more creative business in terms of having creative copy. The other is more consistent. So it's more above board and it's still engaging. And it's sort of you then, once you go through those two exercises, you're I see what you mean. So even if you're somebody who hasn't had any experience and you haven't worked with other brands, because especially in socials, people are oh, what Instagrams do you manage? I want to see. And when I first started, it was just a couple of real estate agents, their personal accounts listing the houses that they sell. So it's not all, and it's not like every single house is like $800 million and it's got like incredible photos. It's not always going to be aesthetic, and they're not going to, you know what I mean? People aren't just going to like see a grid and be like, oh my God, I'm blown away. So that helps as well. So you could do that. Like you could make your own brand as an example and just do it more like, make it like a little case study that way. Or listing other brands that people already know and saying, this is what they've done with their strategy. We could do something similar for you. Because that way it's demonstrating your knowledge without necessarily having to have the experience if you're just starting out.
Yeah, that's really clever.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Last one is achieve. How do you stay motivated?
I think constantly learning. So like I said, doing those courses, that is so motivating. I literally did a course yesterday and I was like, oh my God, the world's my oyster. Whereas before I was like, oh, another day, another bus. Yeah, I was like, oh, here we go again. And then I watched that and I was like, oh my God. So yeah, I think always learning, always doing courses, that's really, really helpful because you see what other people are achieving and it inspires you to do more, and not in a way that makes you feel shit, in a way that's like, oh my God, cool. Having a business mentor, like I was saying earlier, that is so important to me because when I talk to the lady who I suppose is like a business mentor to me, she just knows everything that I know. She's taught me so much. I bounce ideas off her. She's like, you could do this, you could do that. Like, we could do this when you're in Bali. You could do that in Bali. Like, would you be interested in this? Like, we always just do like little business planning lunch and think of what each of our businesses could do, how we would involve each other or not, just advice-wise. So definitely having a business mentor is really good. I think venting and just talking to your friends about ideas, that's always helpful. I just think people like, how people say in like, I don't know if it's Entrepreneur podcast, but advice that's generally given is when they're like, yeah, like make moves in silence. Like don't say what you're doing, just like achieve. Like, and I'm just like, I feel like had I ever done that, I would be nowhere. If I wasn't, and obviously I can't help myself because I like have to get a word in apparently every second of the day. But if I had been some silent, humble achiever making moves in the dark and then like emerging, I don't know. I just
Where's
don't think
fun in that?
That's what I mean. Like you don't learn from other people. You don't gain like other people's experience. You don't, bounce off ideas and get inspiration that way. So I don't know. I definitely am one for speaking to everyone you can about what you're doing. Mm-hmm. Because they then give you more ideas. Like even just like my friends have been like, oh, have you ever considered this? And I was like, what? Like my friend was like, oh, I've just read all your property copies. You should write for wine labels. And I was like, okay. I guess I'm a connoisseur. I guess I live in a vineyard. Like, great idea. I'll do that.
It literally seems that the scope of your work can be expanded to wherever you want it to go. So that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I would think those things, I don't know, those things help me stay motivated. Talking to people, having a business mentor, and learning and doing courses, all that kind of thing. Yeah.
Oh, that's such great advice. I feel motivated. We need to do a business strategy plan now. Seriously.
Yay. Oh, I love that. I'm glad I could motivate.
Well, thank you so much, Caitlin, for coming on the podcast. Was there anything you'd like to say before we close?
I would just like to say thank you so much for having me. I feel so cool and special. So nice.
You are.
I love the branding. I love the font. I love the concept of Nava. I'm a huge fan. I will be broadcasting this to the entirety of my audience.
Thank you.
Yeah, very excited. I don't think I have anything else to add. Maybe outsource everything that's time consuming. That it would be something I would add. So like if you have, I don't know, organizers, or if you're in socials and you have like, a content approval plan, just like pay the $20 to get it. Okay. Like for when I remember how I was talking about an onboarding questionnaire, I bought that. And then I just tailored it. Like, don't spend hours doing all this stuff because you're only one person. So I would say just buy whatever you need to buy and then worry about the rest of it later. That's the only other thing I would add. And maybe get a credit card.
And spend wisely.
Spend wisely.
Disclaimer in being like, this is not a financial advice podcast.
Yeah, this is not legal financial advice. But the thing is, you'll find when you're working for yourself, there are payment delays, and yeah, I'll just say it has helped me. Obviously, I need to restrain myself. But yeah, I would give that as well as a
Thanks
little
so much,
lasting
Caitlin.
note. You're welcome. Love you guys. Thank you so much for having me.